My Destined 1, Tensura x Arifureta by Void Kane. Ch 56. Resting Diablo, Benimaru, Shuna and the rulers had agreed to talk to the man named Roy. Diablo made a table with chairs for everyone to come up and they all sat down. Explain. Benimaru said impatiently and Roy started talking. They talked for a while and Roy answered all the questions truthfully. The men Roy killed were soldiers from the Losuki nation. Losuki was a theocratic nation whose main religion was called the Divine Fragment. The main belief of this religion was that the Losuki god had died and his soul was inherited by mankind. This religion also took all races as enemies and used everything at its disposal to exterminate or enslave them. Losuki held 90% of the territory of the other continent, which was called the Shield Continent. The country was ruled by 8 humans named Celestials. The religion believes that these 8 were the ones who received a bigger piece of God's soul and therefore became rulers. Roy did not know much about the rulers, but stories said that they were immortal and super powerful. Of course, nothing was confirmed. In the country of Losuki, monsters and demi-humans were all enslaved or killed. This country grew stronger by dominating other countries around it, and today, besides powerful soldiers, it had advanced technology. Just as Roy said before, he was a member of the Resistance. The Resistance, as its name implies, is the last country to resist Losuki's invasions and occupied the other 10% of the continent. This nation was made up of free monsters and demi-humans and was located in the extreme southeast of the continent. About 1% of the population of this country were humans seeking to coexist with non-humans, and most of these people infiltrated Losuki to gather information and the like. Roy was one of these people. The resistance forces were far inferior to the Losuki theocracy, but there was a reason why they could not invade. In the north and west of the territory belonging to the resistance, there was a mountain range that made it impossible for an army to pass, while in the south and east there was a sea full of dangerous monsters. The mountain range was extremely high, so the only way to cross it was through tunnels and caves. There were so many interconnected tunnels and caves that it could be considered a labyrinth. If that were all, it would be possible to get through with an army, but these tunnels contained a large amount of powerful monsters, so an exercitator would suffer heavy losses, or not get through at all. It was a natural defense for the resistance. Losuki tried to go over the mountains once. They used dictagibles and sent only their elite soldiers, but even this was not possible. For something stopped it, the one who rules the mountains. I saw him that day. A gigantic dragon with yellow scales. Just looking at him felt as if my heart would come out of my mouth. That overwhelming, calamitous pressure. Roy shuddered as he spoke. It only took one breath. His breath was as bright as the sun itself and melted the airships as if they were nothing. Not even the Losuki elite were able to face him. After we discovered its existence, we began to call it Yellow Dragon. From what Roy explained, the Yellow Dragon did not like anyone crossing the skies near his domain and would annihilate anyone who did. Not much else is known about him. Since the Losuki nation could not attack the resistance, they decided to look for new lands to conquer. They created a new technology to search for new lands. At first they discovered only islands, but then they discovered the continent the Tempest is on. Then they also detected El Dorado and the polar continent. They want to dominate everything. I was undercover at the time they decided to come to this continent, so I warned the resistance. When they learned what was happening, they gave me orders to come along and ask the people of this continent for help. Since I was someone high up in the army, I got permission to come along. That is why I am here. The resistance once helped to overthrow Losuki's country. Roy ended with this statement. Everyone made thoughtful expressions, except Dibalo, who still maintained his usual evil smile. Kufufufufufu. What do you think, Sir Benimaru? Benimaru thought for a moment and then spoke. First we must confirm if all this is true. I will have Sue and his subordinates investigate. Yes, we need to know every possible detail before making a decision. Gazel agreed. Sarian will also help with the investigation. Besides, I think it's best if we don't reveal anything to the public, Elmisia commented. Yes, we didn't know what reactions this might cause. Raymond spoke up. After some more discussion, they decided that Raymond would stay in Tempest under surveillance and in a month's time they would all meet again. If this was really true, then Rimuru would not like this one bit. Demi-human and monsters being mistreated out of sheer prejudice. They were going to have to take some action. That's what Rimuru would do. 20 days had passed. Sue, with the help of teleportation spells and various other things, was able to investigate the Shield continent with ease. His investigations revealed that everything Roy had said was true. At the moment, Benimaru and Diablo were in a meeting discussing Sue's report. They were in a room in the labyrinth, when out of nowhere a magic circle glowing red appeared at their feet. Benimaru immediately pulled out his katana as he thought it was an attack, but Diablo seemed happy for some reason. Kufufufufufufufufufu, great, truly great. Diablo commented to himself. Seeing that Benimaru was confused, he says, Sir Benimaru, I will leave things here with you. Diablo's body glowed red and he disappeared, so did the magic circle. Benimaru was confused by the situation and left the room with speed. He was going to warn the others, but before he could. Hey, Benimaru. Veldora came calling him from afar. Sir Veldora, I'm sorry, but I don't have time now. Wait. I got a message from Rimuru. What? How? Apparently it was through the soul corridor or something. But that's not the point. He said he had a message for you and the others. It went like this. I'm going to borrow Diablo for a bit. Benimaru was thoughtful for a while. After thinking for a while, he exhaled. At least it's not another disappearance, Benimaru thought. After hearing about the recent events, Rimuru was silent with a thoughtful face. Maybe it was a mistake not to make Koteto with the other continent, he concluded. If he had at least investigated, it would be possible to take action against the Losuki country earlier. Now several non-humans were being killed or enslaved because of this. Even if this was not Rimuru's fault, he could have stopped it before. So he would no longer hesitate now. The Losuki country and the religion of the divine fragment should be stopped. Diablo-kun. I want the demons to go back to Tempest. Leave only a few here. You, Testarossa, Ultima and Carrera will let Benimaru-kun know what to do. Yes, and what would that be? You can take whatever steps are necessary. First try to approach them peacefully, but since that probably won't work, you have my permission to go to war. If you want to talk to me, just ask Veldora. That was Rimuru's decision. It would be difficult to resolve this without using force. Yes, sir. Diablo agreed. He and the demon girls left the room and went to gather their subordinates. Come on, Tio-san, Sakura-san, Yu-san, do it, yes. Okay. Hajime, Kaori, Yu, Sakura, Shia and Tio were all standing in a grass field. Kaori was rushing the girls to do a magic that she had insisted for. This magic was to transfer Kaori's soul to another body. Kaori thought she was too weak compared to the other members of the group, so she wanted to be transferred to a stronger body. When Hajime heard this, he said, "You're kidding, right?" She was very stubborn, so no one could convince her, even Shizuku and the other classmates. The body they would use was the only remaining apostle body. This body was left to be examined by Seal, and since it had already been analyzed, it had no further use. So they took this body to make Kaori stronger. Sakura, Tio and Yu did the magic and removed Kaori's soul from her body. Immediately they put the soul into the apostle's body that was on the ground. After a few seconds, Kaori, now in the body of an apostle, stood up. She had a cold look on her face and everyone looked at her cautiously. Kaori? Just kidding. Kaori jumped up and her usual gentle expression returned. The others exhaled after seeing her face. And so, Hajime-kun, how am I doing? Kaori asked and spun around. Ah, it's weird seeing you in another body, especially since it was an enemy, but I can tell it's you. Really? How? Kaori tilted her head in a cute way. Her silver hair swayed as she did so. Hajime scratched the back of his neck in shame. It's your smile, he declared reluctantly. What? Kaori put her hands to her face, trying to hide her flushed cheeks. Oh, really? Kaori-san's smile is unmistakable. Shia agreed with Hajime's words. I agree. Yes. Yu, Sakura and Tio also agreed. Kaori's gentle smile was unmistakable no matter in which body. Stop talking that. Kaori shouted in shame. I'm exhausted. Rimuru said and threw himself on his bed. He had just talked to Veldora and asked Tempest to summon the demons back. The demons had returned to Tempest and Rimuru was relieved. He had forgotten what it was like to deal with them. Rimuru always had to stop them from killing someone or doing other reckless things. Phew, Master handled that well, Seal said and lay down beside him. She lay with her head on his chest and Rimuru stroked her hair. You think so? Yes. Seal easily agreed. Rimuru put his hand on her chin and moved her face so that he could look at her. Rimuru kissed her and Seal returned the kiss. He put his hand on her waist and they kissed for a while. When their lips parted for a few seconds, Seal cast a seductive glance and spoke. Master, Chloe and Sakura will be a while to come back. Rimuru was confused. Relatively, Chloe and Sakura had gone to help Liliana with the war damage, but Rimuru didn't know why Seal would comment on that. That would be the perfect opportunity for Master to possess my body. What? Rimuru couldn't hide his surprise. He knew that Seal was not human, so his sense of shame did not exist, but he did not expect to hear this phrase so suddenly, after the surprise passed. If you want it, then, of course, I've wanted it since I gained a human body. You are being one too sincere. Rimuru wanted to talk. Seal then said, having Master delight in my body, pleasing him in every way possible, and I get horny just thinking about it. Seal said and placed both hands between her legs. Rimuru blushed as she heard his words. Master, I think I got. How do you say? Wet. Seal said and mounted on Rimuru. When she did this, Rimuru could see that her pants were indeed wet between her legs. See, Seal-san, don't say such things. That's a little. Oh, Master doesn't need to be ashamed. I want it. I know all of Master's tastes. Anything Master asks me to do I will do. Or if Master doesn't want to ask, leave everything to me. Seal said excitedly. She was certainly the person who knew Rimuru best. Seal slowly began to remove her white blouse, revealing her beautiful bare breasts. Big, beautiful breasts with perky nipples. That sight alone was enough to make Rimuru get hard. Now, what does Master want to do? Seal said, kissing him once more. Well, I guess I'll do what I want, then. Rimuru decided. He turned Seal over on the bed and stood over her. Seal obviously couldn't resist and just stared at Rimuru. Fast forward. Actually, they may have lost track of time because 3 hours later. Rimuru-san, are you aw? Chloe went into the room and got a fright when she saw what Rimuru and Seal were doing. She got a flush on her cheeks. Rimuru was also startled and quickly pulled a blanket over himself and Seal, but calmed down when he saw that it was Chloe. Seal didn't even care and just stayed hugging Rimuru. Sorry, Chloe said with her cheeks even redder. It's okay. We were just. So why are you here? Rimuru also turned red. He realized there was no point in lying. Before Chloe could answer his question. Chloe wants to join us. Seal asked, making Chloe turn even redder. If Rimuru-san wants I. Chloe was red as a tomato. Rimuru thought this Chloe was very cute. She seemed to want it, but was too embarrassed to speak. As she stammered trying to answer, Chloe cast furtive glances at Rimuru. No need, we were just leaving. Rimuru spoke with a gentle smile. He and Seal had been having sex for quite some time, so he decided to stop it for now. It had been 3 hours of taking advantage of every bit of Ciel's body, so it had been a long time. He also didn't want Chloe to think of him as a pervert. Yes, I came here because Sakura-chan and I are going to dinner and I wanted to ask if you guys want to come along. Sure, we'll go right now. Rimuru stood up and materialized his clothes. Seal also got up and put on her clothes. At Rimuru's request, she used a magic to clean the sheets and the two of them left the room together with Chloe. Hajime, Rimuru, Chloe, Sakura, Seal, Yu, Tio, Kaori, Shia and Akame were eating dinner at a super wide table. They were in the dining room of the castle and it was night time. After switching Kaori's body, Hajime fixed the barrier and also informed the guild that the request to deliver Myu was complete. Halfway there he talked with Shizuku and Yu eventually revealed that Kaori had already climbed the stairs of adulthood. This caused her to say, I don't know if I'm happy or not, while shaking her head in a confused manner. Then she also had an incident with Prince Randell because of his love for Kaori. Hajime then went to the cemetery to bring flowers to the vice captain of the Knights Joseph and found Aiko there. They had a strange moment, and after Hajime told the girls about it, they all agreed that Aiko's feelings for Hajime were quite different than for the other students. By the time they came to eat, it was already evening. At the leftmost seat of the table was Tio, followed by Shia, Hajime, Yu and Kaori. On the other side of the table the sequence was Seal, Rimuru, who was with Chloe on his lap, Sakura and Akame. The reason Chloe was in Rimuru's room was because he wanted to pamper her a little after she saw him and Seal in the room. Chloe didn't care, but Rimuru wanted to pamper her anyway. Yufufufu, Rimuru-san is really thoughtful, Chloe said and put her arms around Rimuru's neck. Rimuru put his hand on her waist and they kissed. Now let's eat, okay? Rimuru said as their lips parted. Chloe agreed and got off his lap. She sat down next to Akame and began to eat her meal. The others were already eating and Rimuru began to eat. As they ate, the group talked about what they were going to do from now on and also about Aiko's crush on Hajime. Hehehehe, I never thought my brother would be a great pickup. Even Sensei couldn't resist his charm. Dopan. Hajime shot at Rimuru, but did no damage. Oh, you really got strong. Rimuru praised him and went back to eating. Of course Hajime was strong. In addition to his evolution to saint, he had recently applied Magistel to his weapons to strengthen them. Tisk, I still want to kill this cheater. Hajime made his usual comment, besides who are you to talk? For all I know, besides Chloe, Sakura and Seal you still have a whole country of girls wanting you. Fufu, he's got you, Rimuru. You agreed with Hajime. Well, what can I say? Hajime's words were true. Any girl from Tempest would wish to be with Rimuru. Hearing this from Hajime he had no way to refute it. The only thing he could say was, but don't make fun of yourself, with your quiet manner and chunny style you can win over any girl. It's really like the protagonists of the isekai anime out there. Dopan. Rimuru received another shot from the irritated Hajime. The girls watched this brother fight scene with smiles on their faces. After a while the students appeared in the hall and were hesitant to sit down to eat. The group just ignored them. Only Kaori reacted and called Shizuku to sit beside her. Seeing Shizuku sit down, the other students followed suit. Hajime, you held out her fork to feed Hajime. He ate and made a satisfied expression. All the students stood watching this scene. Me too, Hajime-san. Me too. Here, Gushin-sama. Shia, Kaori and Tio stood their forks excitedly. Just this once, Hajime agreed. As the female students gave cheering cries, Kya, Kaya, and the students cast envious glances. Those looks only got worse when Sakura, Seal and Chloe did the same to Rimuru. After all the girls could be considered unparalleled beauties, especially Chloe. Hey, Rimuru Kai, who is this beautiful girl? Suzu asked looking at Akame, her gaze and smile were extremely perverted. The other students also seemed interested to know. This is Akame-san, she is our new traveling companion. Rimuru introduced her and Akame didn't have any specific reaction. She just continued eating. Hey, traveling companion. Are you sure it's nothing else? I felt a great chemistry between you two. When Suzu made this comment Akame almost spit out her food. Rimuru was also surprised. The two looked at each other, then looked away with flushed cheeks. Me and Akame-san? Of course not. Yes, there is nothing between us. Akame said that while her face is red as a tomato. Hey, it seems that these two. Suzu, shut up. Shizuku shushed Suzu before the awkward situation got worse. But instead of shutting up, Suzu changed her target to Kaori. What about you Kaori? What are you and Nagumo Kai up to? Have you guys done it yet? What are you talking about? Kaori turned red and looked at Suzu with a surprised and embarrassed expression. You know, don't you? Has Nagumo Kai ever deflowered you? Taken away your purity? Turned you into an adult? Stole your chastity? Suzu kept saying various euphemisms for losing her virginity. Kaori had already hidden her face and the vein on Hajime's forehead was visible. Just from that reaction everyone could tell it had already happened. Finally Shizuku managed to restrain Suzu by hitting her on the head. By the way, when the information of Kaori and Hajime having sex was revealed, Kuki gave Hajime a dark look. His jealousy for Kaori was burning like a raging fire. Hajime didn't even care about Kuki's look and was thinking of methods to change the subject. It was then that his beloved Yu came to his rescue. She dropped a bomb. If that's what you guys want to talk about, ask Rimuru. His sex life is far more interesting, Fufu. Yu-san. Rimuru was shocked by Yu's method of changing the subject for him. All the students looked at Rimuru and the girls wondering what Yu was talking about. Many were also casting hateful glances at Rimuru that seemed to say, how dare he lie with the goddess. That would be Chloe. But Yu didn't stop there. Several hours, right, and with more than one of them. Rimuru must have more interesting things to talk about. Besides. Chloe blushed. Sakura threw Yu a deadly look that made her stop talking and Seal kept her usual expression. Rimuru just wanted to shove himself into a hole. Now both male and female students were interested. Hours. And with more than one girl. This went through everyone's mind. They all wanted to know how this was possible. Even Shizuku seemed a little curious. Ah, we're done eating, right? Then let's go. Rimuru acted quickly and disappeared, taking Sakura, Chloe and Seal with him. They really had already finished eating, so there was no problem. Rimuru had left at super speed, but to the others it seemed that he and the girls had simply disappeared. The students were unable to say anything. The room went silent and the only audible sound was that of Hajime eating. Phew, we managed to escape an awkward conversation. Rimuru said as he arrived in the room. Sakura, Chloe and Seal were here with him. I think we better get some sleep, tomorrow we will resume our journey. Rimuru sat down on the bed and took off his shoes. The girls agreed with him and started to put on their pajamas. Rimuru had already laid down and just watched them change. It was a sight for sore eyes. Why are such perfect women with me? Rimuru couldn't help but wonder. His mistresses were extremely beautiful and the fact that Rimuru loved them only made them look more beautiful. Huh. Rimuru let out a confused groan. That's because Sakura, who was putting on her pajamas, didn't put them on. She just took off her clothes and jumped naked on the bed. Before Rimuru could say anything, Sakura flipped over and stood over him. Sex, now. Sakura said, placed her hands on his chest. She seemed to say, you will not run away. What? Not only Rimuru, but Seal and Chloe also looked surprised. What? I want sex with Rimuru-san. Sakura said, looking at Rimuru like a predator. But Chloe and Seal, if they want they can participate too. I just know I want to do a lot of kinky things with you. I was being patient since Seal hadn't had her turn yet, but now. I want you. Sakura looked really in the mood. Rimuru then looked at Chloe and Seal to see their reactions. Chloe looked embarrassed, but Seal looked ready for anything. Rimuru blushed, especially after Sakura added, it doesn't matter what position. But, if the girls aren't in the mood, how could that happen? With Rimuru-san as our beloved, we are always in the mood. You're sexy. Ah, that's the first time I've heard that. Chloe and Seal were nodding in agreement. Rimuru had already been described by many people as cute-looking, but never sexy. Hearing Sakura call him that made him blush even more. What do you mean? They're saying that any time I want. Oh, my life will be so much better from now on. Okay, then let's do it. Rimuru turned Sakura over on the bed. Fufu, Sakura laughed and helped him take off his clothes. Chloe and Seal also joined them. This is going to be a great night. Rimuru thought. The moon. Hajime was looking at the moon from the balcony of his room. He was having trouble sleeping, so he got up a little. He was looking at the moon and thinking about how hectic things have been these past few days. Normally Hajime would not be the type of person to stare at the moon. Hajime was immersed in thoughts when he heard a voice behind him. Hajime. You. There was his beloved, Yu. She was wearing only a t-shirt and rubbed her eyes as she gave a small yawn. Did I wake you up? No. Yu moved closer to Hajime as she stared at the moon. She hugged herself around his waist and Hajime stroked her hair. Is everything okay? Yu asked and looked at him deeply. Ah, yes. I was just thinking about how far we've come. Even though it hasn't been that long, it feels like it's been years since we were in Orcus. It really had been weeks, but so much had happened that his sense of time was messed up. I understand. Yu blew Hajime a kiss and continued to stare at the moon next to him. They were silent for a while and then Yu called out to him. Hajime. I love you. I love you too. Hajime and Yu kissed once more. A few seconds later they decided to go back to their room and lay down to sleep.